Controlling the stock in API Pro require three information: the spare part, supplier, and stock. Because the combination between them are multi, we need two more information: supplier spare part and stock control. The same information can be found in API Pro. If we go into API Pro, we find it here in Basic, Stock, and here we can find Spare Part, Stock, and Stock Control. Below here we find the accounting, and here we can find our supplier. To create the five information, we start with the supplier. First we create a new. Then we add the supplier key, LeanITEX, add more information for it, corporation. We add the currency, euro, used for the purchase order, and the address key, a telephone number, maybe an email address, a contact, and then we save it. On the condition tab here, we find information about the shipment condition, delivery condition, and the payment condition. We also find the cost type, supplier group and code, and the info. The third tab here, we have the payment. Here we can add the payment address, payment contacts. Then we have performance. The performance will change over time. In this case, we will look at the last 6 months, and we will calculate how many orders has been delivered too late, rejected, partly delivered, the price line, the difference in it, purchase orders in number, and the purchase order line, and the last, the total turnover. These information can be used as a KPI to determine if this is a good supplier or not. If not, we can blacklist it. The last one we have is contact. And here we can add 4 more information as contacts: sales, purchase, delivery, and a reminder contact. So go back to our main. On the main here, I'm finished with my supplier. Most of the information here was optional. So the next one is the spare part. So go back and find my spare part. And in here, I now create a spare part. Normally, I will create multi-spare part by importing a list. In this case, I will only create one. Put in the type number, add a name for it with a description what it is. In this case, a bearing. I will put in the primary supplier, the new one I just created, LeanITEX. I will put in here the spare part group. Since this is a bearing and I have more than one bearing, I already have a bearing group, a code. The group, I put in mechanical. The unit is each and pack size is 1. The purchase price, I can put in here the price that I want to sell my spare part to the work order. If I have a purchase system, this price will also be updated through the purchase. So when I get a delivery and an invoice, this price will change. In this case here, I put in here to start with 100. When I save it now, the sales price will be calculated. On the other three tabs, we have extra info fields, status, which will be updated over time. So every time I use this spare part on an order, on stock, this will be updated. The purchase, we have possibility to add the VAT. We can connect a special purchaser for it or a special technical responsible. If I go back to the main, I have more information at the buttons here. These information we will get back to. From here we're finished with the spare part. The next thing is the stock. So if we go in basic, stock, I already have a main stock. My main stock was created before, and here I have my main stock. I have added some accounts. I have here 4 accounts that is critical. The default account, an adjustment account, scrapping account, and a begin account. The same goes for the cost type. So now I have created the 3 of the 5 information that I need to have the control over my stock. The next 2 here are the supply spare part combination and the stock control. Both can be found in the spare part. So now I start with the spare part supply combination. I start finding my spare part. And here we have the button supplier. The supplier here will give me a list of all supplier that is attached to it. Since I already have created my supplier key LeanITEX as the primary one, it already exists on it. And therefore it has already created a connection between the supplier and spare part combination. But I did not add much information to it manually. Now I want to change that. So when I select my list, I can see here my LeanITEX, and I go in edit. And here I have my spare part supply combination. In here I can add a little bit more information that can be very important. Here I can add my manufacturer. I can also add here supplier spare part number and supplier spare part name. The supplier spare part number and name are the unique name that this supplier is using in their system. So in this case here, I put in their number, bearing HT56. The other information that is important here is a purchase unit. In this case it says each one. This means that if I'm going to order 1 unit, I will have 1 and I will put 1 on stock. But sometimes I add more than 1 at stock, but I only order 1 from the purchase. In this case I can add how many is in the box. So if I purchase 1 unit from LeanITEX, but there is 12 in the box, I will put 12 on my stock. Then I add here 12. We also have the rounding factors. The rounding factors are also used for the supplier. This means that supplier needs to deliver a specific number. And here we can add the number then. So if I have a box here with 12 in it, I can add here how many boxes I need to buy at the time. In this case here I put in here 4. Now this means that I have to order 4 units from the supplier, and I will receive 4 boxes, and in each box there will be 12. So the total here will be 48 units that goes to stock. The last part here is the payment, the unit price. The price that we have here is the price that the supplier is using. The price that we have in our spare part is the default currency that we use. In this case here, they're both euro, and therefore both 100. Here you can see the standard euro price, the last one, and average. I can also see the discount. So here I can put in my discount that is a standard discount for this spare part from this supplier. I try to put in here 5%. The last one we have is delivery days. The delivery days are also very useful when we need to make a reservation. It means here we can tell the system how many days, how long time will it take to order this spare part at the supplier before we will actually get the delivery. And therefore we can calculate how long time before we need to make the order at this supplier. In this case I put in here 7. Now I changed my spare part supply combination and I save it and close it. So the last window we have now is stock control. The stock control we find here on the stock. When I select my stock, I cannot see anyone because I have not created anyone yet. Now I add this spare part on a stock by selecting new. Here we already have the spare part number C600 680, my bearing. I add my stock main. Since this is a stock control, I now need to add the location. Where will I place it? I put in a location. I could put in ABC, cost type, and account key. The spare part code and group will be added when I save it, if they exist. Then we have the information about the quantity, economical, if it is paid or not, how many is for use, that means it will look at reservation, and how many is physical there, if I count it. These three could be different from each other. Then we have the reorder, the auto reorder. They're connected to the minimum and the maximum. So in here I will now add what is the minimum quantity I want of this spare part on my stock. I put in here 2 and the maximum 4. Now this means that when my spare part on this stock will go below 2, it will automatically make a request to the purchaser to buy more. How many to buy depend on how many is left on the stock, but it will always buy up to the maximum, in this case 4. When I save my stock control now, this is the first time it has been created, and it will create the first begin transaction. And in here I need to add how many of the spare part do I actually have on my stock at the moment. In this case I don't have any, and the unit price will be 0. So this will create a new begin transaction with 0 units to a price at 100. Okay. So now we have created all 5 information: the supplier, spare part combination, the stock, then we added the supply spare part combination, and the stock control. Now we can go back into the stock control. And we have it here. Now we can control our spare part. Now we have a spare part, the bearing, on this stock at this location, and we have none in stock. Now we have buttons down here which we can control the functions in it. We can add spare parts to it, add a unit, in this case we put in 2, 100 euro, and the data updates. We have a scrapping, we have an adjustment, we have FIFO, first in, first out, where we can see if we have ordered more than one at the time, more than one line. We can also look at the history, and here we can see all the transactions that has been made every time we add to the stock. That could be manual by selecting add, or could also be by the purchase or the key. And if we take spare part out, we can also see the work order key. The physical balance will also be updated. We can also see if there is a purchase order on it. Any requests or pick lists, or if we have alternative locations for the spare part. So now we have the control over the spare part. These information here will be used from the work order and for the purchase. If we take a look at the functionality in it now, it would look like this. Now we have added the stock control. Now, with the red arrows here, we can make delivery, returns, movements, and direct stock entries. That means we add something to the stock, and we can take something out of the stock by making withdrawal from the work orders, movements, scrapping, and adjustment. Each one here will create a transaction, and each one here will be used for analysis and making reports, for example, the KPIs. The stock control in itself will also send information for the stock taking, for example, for the reservation, and for the below minimum for the purchasing.